Subcommittee is Employee Relations and Commitment. Now, this has been the most eclectic of our subcommittees, and here to speak is Mary Lee Ratcliffe of the library.
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. Retaliation is a hot-button word that seems to keep coming up in the city manager's town hall meetings and in feedback received throughout the city. Responses from the 2006 Listening to the Workforce survey indicate that only 48% of city employees feel comfortable expressing unethical concerns within their work group or division without experiencing some kind of retaliation or fear therein. Assessing this information and the input received through the City Managers Committee, we believe that trust and accountability are the values most closely associated with this perception. To gain a better understanding of this complex issue, we've recently sent out an exhaustive 3-page survey to over 1,300 city employees. These are frontline employees, they were randomly selected, and we've received approximately 30% in return. In the coming months, we will be interpreting this data, making recommendations to the city manager so that we can better understand and get closer to resolving these concerns.
Thanks,
Thank you for your time.
That's actually been a very tough issue, and we're spending a lot of time on it. Mary Lee, you're going to get your first question from the dais here.
All right, I'm ready.
Well, I think that's a troubling statistic.
It is a troubling statistic.
That there's that level of concern within the workforce about issues of retaliation. And could you give us some either anecdotal information or maybe a little more information about what protections or what stories you heard that relate to that concern?
Well, this number was troubling to us also, particularly because in 2002 that statistic was at 56%, and so it's dropping. That said, the more we investigate this notion, the more we find that retaliation means very different things to different people. So the issue itself is a little larger than it sort of seems on the surface. The straight and narrow definition of retaliation as it pertains to the law is something we're finding that isn't experienced much. We're not finding evidence of actual legal retaliatory experiences, but we are finding experiences of a more personal nature, perhaps, which are perhaps very important, but don't fit within what you might think of as legal retaliation. Does that answer it?
We're going to be bringing you back more information on this.
Yes.
The reason this became one of 4, and you can imagine all the items that this group could have worked on this year, we chose this one specifically because of this. Mm-hmm. And we want to be sure that we understand exactly what it does mean and how it's manifesting itself. We've already talked about supervisory training as one way to try to get our arms around it, different reporting structures,
making the assets and resources available more broadly, making sure people know that the resources available, hotlines and ways to report feelings of retaliation, things like that.
Did you all find that there was any particular department or enterprise where you really picking up that there was more of this concern than in others? In one place or another? We're really still looking at that. We just got the data back a week or 2 ago. So we do have that. I can't answer for you right now, though.
I will tell you, I wish it was that simple, because if you found a concentrated hot spot, it would be much more easier to address. What I'm finding in my town hall meetings, I've had over a dozen of them, I probably talked to about 2,000 employees to date, is it's widespread. It's a feeling and a culture issue that we're going to need to get our arms around. It would be easier for us if we could find it just loaded in one place.
Well, I guess, as a follow-up, then it would probably be helpful for the council to, learn, what this information finds about, where it's concentrated, but also get some sense of, what we can do to structurally within the organization to put in greater protections. Because whether there is retaliation or not, if people feel that there is a prospect of retaliation, then that will have a chilling atmosphere. So, that's obviously very important that we build in the structural protections. So I guess what I'm saying is it'd be helpful to give us a follow-up report.
Well, we may then let one of our subcommittees come and give you the briefing when we're done with the report. Okay? You've got a good group of employees working on this, widespread across all departments, and we're paying a lot of attention to it.
Councilmember Leffenwell.
Yeah, I agree. It would be very important to know if there was some localization of these kinds of complaints, because that would tell us if it's a systemic problem or a people problem. So I'd really like to hear about that. But going beyond that, I believe we just passed a resolution at this council announcing that the city would continue to provide whistleblower protection despite the contrary Supreme Court ruling. And I think maybe we need to get that information out there better to the employee group.
And the only note that I'll make is this is not manifesting itself in the legal sense of the word retaliation. What we've found so far in the very early parts of our survey is this has more to do with the sense of fairness. We've actually started looking at what other words are being used. They're being lumped together under this word, but it's a softer, every bit as troubling, but softer issue. Things like you're a fair chance at a job promotion, that when you're going into an interview process, you think there's a level playing field. Promotions. Give some other thoughts, Marilee. There you go. It's exactly that kind of thing. But every bit is troubling. And that's exactly what we're exploring right now.
I agree with that, but I do think that even though the complaints are soft, they do have the potential to become legal complaints.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's a troubling issue. It's why we're focusing on it. It's why it's the number one piece that we're working on here.
Yeah.
Thanks,
Thank
Marilee.
you for your time.
Mayor.
Councilmember Martinez.
I'm trying to get it out.
Oh.
How focused is the analysis that we're doing on this issue? Are we actually trying to give the employees specific definitions as opposed to just this general broad definition?
What we've done is employees are using the word interchangeably. So the reason the employee group surveyed with very specific questions is to try to take that one word and put it in the categories where people feel like it's happening, so we can get our arms around where it is, what other words really could be used to describe it. Because right now it's a number of issues just all chunked up into that single word. But when you go in and ask the specific question, it could be, like I said, something more related to whether they got a job promotion that they applied for. There are a variety of other things. Office assignments, training. Those who are selected and picked for a training opportunity. It has more to do almost with fairness, a feeling of employees that there's not always a level playing field in the workplace. But we're on the very early stage. We've just gotten the survey data back. We're going to see what it gives us and then go try to get more laser-like from there. So we've done the survey. I'm including it in my discussion of all my town hall meetings. We've had meetings with our directors and executive team on it. We've even thought about bringing in some training, some outside consulting work to help us. But first we're going to try to get our arms around it. All right, and then lastly, well, we hit a hot button there, Marilee.